Alright, in this video I want to talk about, this is going to be an added segment to the 3 or 4 pack. It's probably going to be like 5. And the whole thing really centers around a seminar that I did 13 years ago. It was an all-white seminar. It was a closed-door seminar. And I'm going to tell you how it went, what happened, and I'm going to speed it up. Don't worry, once I get going, I'll speed it up. I won't make it any longer than it has to be. I started to get emails. I looked at my Google email one morning, and there was a request for me to do a seminar, or actually a question. And the question was whether or not I did seminars. At that time, I had not gotten a lot of requests for seminars. I had only been on social media for about maybe a month, something like that. I get requests now, but then I hadn't gotten any. But he asked me if I would do a seminar. I said, sure, I would do one. He asked me how much I would charge, and at that time, it was at one of those moments, whenever I go to the doctor, and they show me one of many injuries that I had from training back in the day. I always realized how much I put in to training. So if someone asked me for a seminar, at that time, when I just came from the doctor, I usually charge more. I had just come from the doctors. And, it wasn't, obviously, I'm here, so it wasn't anything that was very life-threatening or was life-threatening. But it certainly was something that came from me training. So I gave him my fee, which was high then. And he came back within 3 or 4 hours and told me that was good, which surprised me. He then asked me if I would mind teaching, having a seminar for an all-white audience, right, with all-white participants. Now, I didn't know how to take it, so I told him, give me a call. Just call me, right? And we'll talk about it. Talking about something like that through email wasn't something that I wanted to do. So he called me. I asked him, what are you, a Klansman or skinhead? He told me no. No, it's not a racist organization. It's just that he's white, and most of his friends that he worked in his co-workers happen to be white, and some Hispanics. So I asked him what kind of line of work he was in. He told me he was a corrections officer, right? So by the way, I failed to mention we're talking about Orange County, California. So he told me that he was a corrections officer. So we worked out the fee. He gave me the address. Beautiful school, mats, everything laid out. When I get there, there's one Hispanic, and there's about 21 white guys, right? All, 5'10". The shortest one, I think, was probably like 5'10". I mean, all of them diesel. All of them, look like they're corrections officers, police officers. So there's like 22 guys there. I tell them I do yell. I do yell. There will be times where I scream because I want people to do what they're supposed to be doing. I'm serious about what I do. This is why I only train adults. And, if you can't take a man yelling at you, then you need to get up and you need to leave. And no, you can't watch. If you're not participating, you can't watch. Just leave if you're going to be sensitive to something like that. All of them stayed. I then said, there's going to be contact. The way I start with the gloves, then I move to MMA gloves. Then when I feel you have learned the defense that I need to show you, and it's your fault if you get hit, once I've taught you properly how to defend punches, then we will, by the end of the seminar, be going bare knuckle. Half clenched fist, but bare knuckle. You need to get used to seeing knuckles coming down the pipe, because that's what you're going to face inside or outside. The man who contacted me to do the seminar, he asked me to wait. He gets up, gets on the phone, he's talking. I hear him talking. He tells this guy, you got to be here. So he asked me to hold up for a few minutes. I said, okay, I'll talk. You guys can shadow box and move around. You can ask some questions if you want. I'll answer more questions after the seminar. But in 15 minutes, we're gonna start whether people are there or not. What ends up happening, I hear all these doors opening and closing. Already we had 22 people, 21, 22 people. After he makes the phone call, there's another 22, 23 people coming in. Just off of that one phone call. He tells me later that he had some friends who just didn't think, they didn't know me, just didn't see the video that he saw, and they just basically wanted some of those guys to take the seminar, and if they wanted to show them what they had learned, but they didn't feel they needed to participate. Once they got that call, it went out. You got to be here. This guy is talking about, gloves first, MMA gloves next, and then bare knuckle. We haven't trained with anybody who's talking about, training bare knuckle at a seminar, right? So they come in. I got 40-some people. Everybody white except 3 Hispanics at that point, okay? Now, this is where it got interesting. Every single thing I told those white guys, they did. In fact, the way they trained, I had to tell them to take it down a notch. Every single thing. Whether it was defense, defending against bare knuckle punches, whether it was the dirty clinch that I taught, what I called the meat grinder street clinch. I really have not did a lot of that on my YouTube channel, but I will be showing that material on my website. Every single thing that I told these white guys to do, they did without any question. No question, no trouble, just no resistance whatsoever. Okay? After that particular day, which was on a Friday, we're talking, they're telling me, the great time they had. I see a couple guys off to the corner, or off to the side. They come over and say, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, sure. When are you leaving? Are you leaving tonight? No, I'm not leaving tonight. I have some family in California. I'm going to stay around for a couple days. Well, can you come in tomorrow? This was a Friday. The first day was a Friday. I said, well, the agreement was only for Friday for 3 hours. Okay? You're going to have to pay me for the hotel room if I stay Saturday. You're also going to have to pay me the same fee hourly fee for Saturday. Okay? So, it's up to you. I don't mind. We'll start at 9. We'll finish at 12. I'll go visit family and friends. I'll just stay a little longer in sunny California. No problem again. I tell him, okay, well, we only planned for Friday. Saturday, I got something special for you. We're going to do some street grappling, and we're going to do the knife. So an hour and a half on street grappling. The last hour and a half, we're going to work with the blade. Okay? I told him I have one standard, or one caveat, and that is the only people, even if we're down to 5 people from 44 or 42, even if we're down to 5 people, I have to see, 1, that you're a correction officer, that you're a bouncer, that you're in armed security, or you're a police officer. Some kind. You have to be a professional, because I don't want to be responsible for teaching unresponsible people, irresponsible people, the blade. So there are people who can come and stay and come and take the hour and a half for the street grappling, and then they have to leave, where the doors will be shut, the curtains will be closed. No one can watch, but the only people who can take the knife class, or the knife portion, are people who have to show me some kind of documentation that they are professionals and they are responsible to take that kind of lessons in the knife or in the blade. Okay. Again, did everything I asked them to do. And this, what happened after the seminar on Saturday, is actually what this video was about. Right? They're asking questions. Gentleman asked me if I like guns. I said, sure. I like guns. I mean, I'm not a gun fanatic, but when I see a nice piece with an infrared and hey, I mean, I'm like any other alpha male. I like to see a nice handgun. Sure I do. He goes in his car. He comes out, or goes in his truck actually. He comes out and he's showing me some weapons that he purchased. All legal. Couple other guys, they're looking, that's old, man. You want to see something? I'll show you something, right? That ends up with 9 different guys, white guys, 1 Hispanic at this point, showing me their firearms. Submachine guns, Glocks, infrareds. Some of them had homemade silencers that they made in the metal shop. Some of them were worked in metal shop, were machinists. And I had to ask them. I asked them. I says, you know what? You guys have guns, right? And some of you, I can see you carry knives, right? Some of you had your own knives and you were able to use them, in the last part of the seminar. But the way you were training and what we were doing hand to hand was impressive. And I enjoyed myself. This is what I told them. I told them that I enjoyed myself because where I'm from, I didn't specify black people where I'm from, but they kind of guessed what I was talking about. I told them where I'm from, my student body is very small. In fact, in spite of me teaching in the ghetto, and any Friday or Saturday night in the summer, there can be 40, 50 guys outside, all muscles on top of muscles who just will not come into the school. And I've been told the reason is because there's just too much contact in my school. I asked them, what is it that makes them so dedicated to training hand to hand, even though they have knives, even though they have guns? What makes them so dedicated to that? And what makes them give their all, like they gave their all in the 2 days of the seminar? And what they said to me, I was impressed with, but it let me know just really, really, really delusional, in particularly black folks are. Each one, to a man, told me in his own words, the reason why they train in self-defense, hand to hand, in spite of having firearms, is because it's a package. Because it's a package. You have hand to hand, you have knife, you have improvised weapons, and you have firearms, and they don't skimp on either element. This is what these white participants of that seminar that I gave, a closed door seminar, right? A closed door seminar. I believe it was 9, something like 7, 4 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours Friday, 4 hours, 3, 4, 7 hours. 4 hours on Friday, 3 hours on Saturday, right? 7 hours. Boxing for the street, clinching for the street, improvised weapons, grappling for the street, and knife. And every single thing I told those guys to do, they did. And not one of them was shorter than 5'10", and not one of them was lighter than about 210 pounds. Every single one of them professionals. Mohawks, motorcycles, tattoos. Listen to every single thing I said. And when I asked them, what is it that makes them train so hard in hand to hand, in street grappling, in knife fighting, what makes them train so hard in spite of having handguns, they said because it's a complete package, that you are not really dangerous until you can really protect yourself, and until you are dangerous in every segment of self-protection. And that includes hand-to-hand, knife, improvised weapons, and firearms. After teaching that seminar, I fly back on Sunday morning. And when I come back, I look at some of the texts that I got, or some of the comments in my forums from some black folks. And some of those comments were the same comments I get today, right? The same comments I got then are the same comments I get today when I talk about self-protection and hand-to-hand and learning how to use your hands, right? Black folks telling me people shoot. Why learn to street box? People shoot. Why learn to street grapple? People shoot. Why learn to use the blade in self-defense situations? Right? But those white participants in that white-only seminar, right? They understood my philosophy without me telling them my philosophy. And that is, being dangerous is a complete package. A complete package. I can't tell you how much me as a black man, how much I enjoyed teaching in the art of self-protection, being able to demand of them to give 100% every time with every single drill and every segment, and not one person, not one man protested. Not one. In fact, I had to tell them and demand that they took their breaks. See you next video.